November the 14th, 1940. Coventry, 21 years later. But in this newborn city, the memories of that night are still vivid.
Well, I was driving in Coventry on the night of the Blitz. I was driving towards the centre of the city when the sirens went, and the town was immediately surrounded with incendiaries. Fires started everywhere before the heavy stuff came in. I immediately put all the lights out, of course, in the bus, as we'd been instructed to do. And I asked the passengers, I said, I can't get you into town, but if you like to stop on the bus, I'll get you out of it. So I turned off the route towards the country. Folks were running along the road, and I picked them up. I had them sitting on the stairs and on the floor upstairs. And I just drove them out to a country pub at Brandon. And we stopped there. When they called time, the landlord, I simply got all the loose seats out of the bus and put in the saloon. They all slept on them all night, all the passengers. In the morning, the country police came and said, "You from Coventry?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, you can't take your bus back into town." I said, "I'm not worried about the bus." I said, "But I'm going into town," because I was worried about how my own place had fared.
An emergency committee met in the ruins of the mayor's parlour, lit by candles in beer bottles. King George took part. That night he wrote, "I was horrified at the sight in the centre of the town. The people in the city wondered where they were. Nothing could be recognized." But there was a twist of fate about the happenings of that night. Mr. Dennis Morris, who was regional head of the Ministry of Information at the time, tells the story.
I was in this hall on November the 14th, 1940. My job was to open an unofficial and very forward-looking replanning exhibition. It was sought out in 1938, and during the first winter of the war, the wives of some of the town officials had relieved the tedium of the blackout by making a model. A few hours after the opening, just as I was leaving the city, the sirens started and the bombs started to fall. Hitler's bombers, by concentrating on the center of the city, were about to make it possible for an imaginative scheme to rise from the ashes and the blood of the old Coventry.
This film, made immediately after the war, shows the rather utopian mood of that time.
We must have vistas. In Coventry, to use a very good example, it's perfectly obvious that people will want houses looking at the cathedral.
Aye, and every amenity, too. Arthur's got the big view. I'm an old woman. When it comes to domesticity, I want a radio and a...
All right, all right. There was only a minor point in mind. The old house can have a radio and an electric washing machine and a vacuum cleaner, too, if you like. It stands to reason that a council that's building 20,000 houses, and that's what we're going to build too, will find it easier to equip them with all these things than to have them added separately later. And the rent will include all the amenities, too.
Well, what'll the houses cost?
About 20 million.
Told you he took the big view.
Well, where'll it come from? Not from us, it won't.
Sixpence on the rates only brings in $1.25 million. Have a heart, Arthur.
That's all right. This is a national responsibility, not only a local one.
Coventry did not lack men of vision who were also practical planners with the force and the drive to do the job. Their leader was Alderman Hodgkinson.
Apart from the immediate situation, Coventry could see an opportunity to reconstruct in accordance with ideas the planners and architects had had beforehand. And within 10 weeks, we were in London presenting to the minister a proposal for rebuilding the city on modern and visionary lines. Well, having a vision is one thing, but there were many practical difficulties. There was the problem of financial allocation, of licensing sanctions, and a limited building labour force in the city.
With all these difficulties blocking the way, it looked as though the dream would never be realized, despite all the enthusiasm. But suddenly a garden blossomed in the center of this wilderness. The people of Holland made a gift of trees and flowers to the city. It was as though this was the signal for the start. Around this imaginative gift, the new city was built. While Coventry was rebuilding itself physically, it was also trying to lay the foundations for something of even greater significance.
After the war, quite a few of us realized that sooner or later we must get back into international friendships, more particularly with those for whom we were estranged during the war. Immediately after the war, that is in 46, Councillor Briggs, the reigning mayor, decided to open negotiations with Kiel, and a very happy and successful trip that was. So much so that when I became the mayor of Coventry in 1951, I decided to enlarge this international friendship scheme by contacting Yugoslavia. Our arrival in Belgrade was really exciting, realizing as we did the poverty through which they were suffering, and obviously suffering, that he offered us £12,000 worth of timber as a free gift to the citizens of Coventry to build anything we liked. We said club, pub, church, anything. Then the word theatre was mentioned. He said, yes, that's what we'd like to do, a theatre.
But theatres and gardens, however pleasant, do not make a city. Coventry was still faced with a gigantic task of building a brand new city, a complete framework for living. Today, the task is far from finished. New developments constantly alter the shape of the task. For example, Coventry, which earns its living for the most part from the motor industry, now has more cars per head of the population than any other city in the country. The rooftop car parking system is already far in advance of the original plans. Anticipating still more cars, facilities for parking a further 1,300 are already under construction. The new plan is just about at the halfway stage. Let's take stock. What do the people of Coventry think about the People's City? Well, no scheme is ever perfect, but make no doubt about it, on the whole, they are proud of the place.
Oh, I find it most exciting. I was born in Coventry, and as a little girl, I knew the old Coventry, but then when the Blitz came along, everything disappeared, and since then it's all been prefabrication, a lot of rubble, and now the new shop's opening every day, and it's all rather exciting to walk around.
I'm Coventry born, and I've seen all the changes that are to be seen. I mean, that very building there, for instance, was once a market. And I've seen, I don't know, like I said, I've seen all the changes, and I don't think you can find a better city in the country. And when it's all completed, then it will be a marvellous place, marvellous. What do you think, Phyllis?
Oh, I think it's terrific here. I come from Dublin. I'm about 3 months here now. And I lived here before for about 2 years. I thought I'd never get back to it. I really liked it.
I was born on the night of the great Reid, the night that the cathedral went down during the Blitz, and I've lived here for quite some time. I think that they've made a very good job of rebuilding the city, and I think it'll be very good when it's, completed.
I'm an old Coventrian. I'm a freeman of the city. I knew the old Coventry when it was just a quiet, more or less a country little town. The streets were narrow. In the old town, for instance, one never had places where one could sit and enjoy the lunch hour in peace. In the narrow streets, the trams were rolling by. If they wanted to sit down, they've got to go and sit on a gravestone in the cathedral yard. But now I think it's going to be absolutely wonderful.
And by and large, there was much the same sort of reaction in the new suburbs. Tile Hill, for example, with its 11-storey blocks of flats.
I live right at the top of the 11-storey flats on the 8th floor. They're very nice. I've got a little boy who plays on the landing outside, so there's plenty of fresh air. Central heating is very handy. You've got no fireplaces to clean. Very nice and modern, and spacious, really. I think they're very nice.
We like them very much.
Beautiful. Nothing to compare with them in Coventry, I don't think. We've lived in all types of houses, flats, caravan, bungalows, and there's nothing to compare with the 11-storey flats. We really love them.
Again, many people like the village green type of development at Willenhall. Where do you come from?
Just outside Edinburgh.
And how do you like... How do you like living down here in Willenhall?
Oh, I think it's smashing.
How long have you lived here?
About 14 years.
Where did you come from?
I came from South Wales.
And how do you like living here?
Perfect.
This is my first summer here, and we've got a lovely garden as well, which we didn't have in the other place, and we've made it very nice now. And we'll have all our meals out in it, I expect, anyway. Especially my two eldest boys, they've got a tent, and they're going to be in the garden all the time. Don't touch that, Tina.
Where do you come from?
Well, I was born in Coventry, but I've been living in Belgium for 4 years. I married a Belgian girl, and I came back here nearly 2 years ago to live on this estate.
And how do you like it?
Oh, I think it's marvellous. It's terrific. I travel all over Coventry during my work, and without a doubt, it's accepted. It's the ideal estate in Coventry.
How did your wife like it?
Oh, she worships it. She adores the people here because, in comparison with the life in Belgium, it's a much quieter life, and she appreciates that. You know, I'm afraid, on the other hand, I don't so much. You know, I soon have the life in Belgium, but my wife and family's happy, so that's the main thing. You know.
But the new Coventry doesn't suit everybody.
Well, of course, you've got to progress, I'll admit that. Naturally, with the mess it was in, they've got to do something, haven't they? And, of course, this is what's happened. All square walls, no architecture, you know, just square walls, square windows, everything's square. That's the trouble, isn't it?
Criticism of that sort is to be expected, but what about this?
Well, my opinion of it is that there's too many big buildings going up in this city, and the housing accommodation is in a deek. And I think that they should provide more houses for people instead of them living in rooms and paying £3.10 and £4 a week. And some of them is living in overcrowded places, and I think it's very unfair on the working class.
It's perfectly true that Coventry still has its tumble-down back streets. Not far from the city centre, there are rows of houses with no indoor lavatories. Worse still, houses with no water supplies at all. But areas like this are scheduled for demolition and redevelopment. And in its planning, Coventry has learned how to sell its ideas to its people. Plans and sketches aren't hidden away in an office in the council house. There are models which are displayed in the city architects department just by a bus stop. Everyone can see what they're going to get for their money, and it does cost money. The ratepayers have to foot the bill. What does this ratepayer think about it?
Well, I think it's a very fine concept. I don't think anyone can quarrel with it. There are criticisms that the Ratepayers Federation in Coventry have levelled at it. Particularly, they feel that too much money is going into the new Coventry in the centre of the city, and not enough money is being spent upon the older suburbs, which are suffering as regards street lighting, paving, poor roads, and drainage. I feel that we haven't been able to attract a very large number of good quality shops here, which is unfortunate. I don't think the corporation are to blame in this respect. I blame this rather on the shopkeepers.
But I would point out that both the corporation and the Chamber of Commerce have done their utmost to persuade better class owners to come into Coventry and have failed. It must be realised that a big business concern who are likely to set up in Coventry have their own ways and means of judging a city, and we feel that that is the complete answer. We agree there's a lot of money in Coventry, but whether there will be money for a higher class business seems to be proved wrong. Otherwise, these people would undoubtedly come here.
I usually go to Birmingham to do my shopping. I usually find things better to fit me up there.
Yeah, there's no fittings here. The shops are a lot bigger, you know, more room. It's hard to find places for shoes and clothing and all that.
The shops are all right. You can find most of the things here that you want.
I think it's very nice. It's not always convenient for old people. There's a lot of climbing in it, and for young mothers and children, it's a bit inconvenience there.
But mothers with young children present the planners with other problems. For example, the 11-storey blocks of flats. Where do the toddlers play? What about the safety factor if you live on one of those upper floors with an open balcony?
I live in the flats, the 11-storey flats. I like them very much, but I don't think they're very successful for the small children, as I think they need a garden.
I think the council could do a bit more for the safety of the children at the top. It is quite easy for them to climb over the balcony on the outside, but you just have to keep your eye on them, that's all you can do.
Is the answer to these problems the village green type of estate at Willenhall?
Very good up here for the kiddies and everything. It's safe and the kiddies play in the grass, plenty of lawn for the kiddies to play in. Though I live in a flat, there's still plenty of lawn for the kiddies.
An ideal place for young people, this is. Bring up your children.
You look around and there's plenty of area for small children to play, like the cul-de-sacs and things like that, but there's no actual playing fields near here, only apart from crossing over a main road. I mean, when I was young and I lived in an industrial area, I had, 3 parks to play in, you see, and that's, 20 years ago. And they're still there now, they haven't been redeveloped, and I think that the council could have done more, say, for teenagers in respect of playing. I mean, you get them playing, kicking the ball around here, but they can't really let themselves go unless they cross the main road and that. And they can't have anything organised like we used to do. We used to have quite a few things organised in the parks near our home, like.
I like living out here, but not enough variety, youth centres and whatnot.
Yeah, we need a youth club and everything. There's nothing to do. You get bored at night and that. It's nice up here, but you need a youth club and everything. Then we'll be all right.
I really think they could do with a swimming pool, keep the boys off the streets, which is, there's quite a lot of boys on the streets around here.
There's a shortage of all sporting facilities, but why particularly swimming baths? Well, Coventry has produced some of the best swimmers in the country, but local bathing facilities haven't kept pace with the demand. This is a model for a big new bathing pool which has been designed to meet Olympic standards. No date has been set for its construction. Again, it's a question of priorities. Apart from sports, however, there are other social activities for young people if they care to take advantage of them. Some of these are centred on the Belgrade Theatre. There are lunchtime concerts, there are art shows. Young people are taught about acting and theatrical production.
Now, this shield is moulded, and to show the moulding and the depth, we're going to light it from...
Admittedly, these are minority interests. After nightfall, there is very little life about the streets of Coventry. For the majority of youngsters, there is almost nowhere to go except this one huge dance hall.
Well, someday I guess I'll find myself another little girl to take the place of my true love. But as long as I live,
This, by the way, was just an ordinary weeknight with hundreds of couples dancing to the strains of pop records. For many older people, a night out follows the old conventional line, just dropping in at the working men's club where bingo is the latest attraction.
3 and 2, 32, 2 all, 20. 5 and 6.
I live in a pre-war house. Far cheaper than you can live in a council house.
Yeah, but you crib about the council house tenants not paying.
I do not. I crib about paying rates. Why are the rates going up every year? Even this year alone, Coventry Council are paying 3 rates per year.
Well?
Well, of course, that's something we've got to face up to, isn't it? I mean, don't let's run away from this. The rates have got to go up, haven't they?
Yep.
You see, we're in the trade union movement. We're fighting ourselves for higher wages. Well, obviously, the council employees, for one thing, will want higher wages. Well, we've got to pay for it as ratepayers. That's just one thing.
So therefore, we're in a vicious spiral.
A couple of miles away in the lounge of the Belgrade Theatre, another argument is going on, this time between young people.
I suppose it's a nice place to live in, but they haven't done really an awful lot for the youth. But when you're building a city, I suppose you haven't got to be self-centred, but I think they have tended a little bit to be more for the older people of Coventry. For the youth, after about 11 o'clock, there isn't a thing to do. Coventry's just deserted.
I want to leave, I want to get to London. There's nothing to keep me here. All this, all these new buildings going up, they're so boring, can't stand them, There's no life at all, really. There's only the theatre. I can't, I like coming to the theatre, but I can't come here every night for enjoyment. There's dances, but, there's fights every night,
Well, I first came to Coventry in 1942. My father had come here previously with my brother because they were unemployed in Durham, in the pits in Durham. And about 6 months after he'd been down here, he sent for my mother and me.
I came from Yorkshire, a little Leeds in Yorkshire in 1928. We came down here because it was a distressed area in those days. There was no work. We came down here for work. And my husband found work. We brought the one little boy with us who was only 18 months old when we came here. We found work and we lived in the munition cottages. Used to be in them days. But went through all the Blitz, but since then we've prospered and we're now buying our own house and our children are buying their houses.
I came from a little place called Nantyglaw in Monmouthshire at 1928 because we were unemployed and came up here for work. Came to Coventry and I found work. And I've remained in Coventry, and since I've been here there's been a lot of changes.
Well, there was one change. It was the Blitz that changed everything for us, which was a change for the better.
I like the new Coventry. I like the buildings and especially the cathedral. And from the point of view of entertainment, I think we're as well provided for here as in any other provincial town.
It was a place that you could walk around at night and really enjoy. I'm very sorry to say that the planners in Coventry, they appear to be carrying on what Hitler started.
Well, I like it, but I think that the new Coventry is not inhabited by Coventrians by birth. It's full of immigrants like me and other people of different colours and sizes. The old Coventrians have moved out into the suburbs or into different parts of the country. I know an old lady who's now living in Devon who was born in Coventry, and she said that when she came back, she was quite disgusted. She wanted to get a gun and shoot down the Godiva on the clock.
I think that Coventry's done a marvellous job of work in everything what they've tried to do since the war.
And what about it as a place for young people?
I think they've got every opportunity if they'll work to for good jobs, every opportunity for all the children here, the younger generation. There's good work in all trades for them. And I should say that they've a very good future as the children of Coventry.
And that future must start in the schools. From a planning and an architectural point of view, a great deal of imaginative work has gone into the building of Coventry's new schools. What is sometimes the subject of controversy is the educational policy. Is this policy of concentrating on comprehensive schools effective? Here's what a headmaster says.
Well, I'm all in favour of a 100% comprehensive policy because I believe that it's the only method yet suggested which would provide the educational and social pattern which is really fitting for a 20th century. For a variety of reasons, one can't say that Coventry is really comprehensive. It's largely due to history, the 11 plus, all sorts of things. It isn't possible, for instance, to say that in Coventry there is at the moment a single comprehensive school. In other words, we are more comprehensive at the bottom than at the top. Well, of course, the critics of comprehensive schools would like to have it said and would like to believe that there has been a levelling down. Well, in my mind, there is no doubt whatever that there's been a great levelling up throughout. From the point of view of results, GCE results, if one must talk about them, we can say here quite confidently that our results can compare with any in the city. And from the point of view of general behaviour, general usefulness, growing upness, our experience over 7 years here has been that it has been of enormous benefit to every youngster in the school.
Apart from formal education, the teachers of Coventry have taken on another task: to create in youngsters who come from many different backgrounds a feeling of unity. The headmistress of a comprehensive school for girls explains how she and her staff put this into practice.
Well, we are very fortunately surrounded here by beautiful woodland and grounds, and the girls have seen young trees planted. They realise that they have to come to maturity and approach the beauty of those already there. They have their own natural ponds in which they do work in connection with their science. And I do find that after a few weeks, the girls do have a real sense of preserving what is here. An awareness of their own surroundings is naturally linked with a sense of one another. We do make attempts in our English work in this school to correspond, proper correspondence between individuals of, shall we say, the highest ability group with the lowest ability group. Just as formal as a letter through the GPO. At the same time, always at Christmas, children in the various houses make up food parcels which they themselves take to the homes of old people recommended by the parish priests.
It's probably true to say that people outside Coventry have heard more about the new cathedral than anything else. To some people it will be just a showpiece, to others a monument. But to many people in Coventry itself, it will be a place of worship and something vital in the life of the community. The cathedral does not remain aloof from practical problems. Members of the staff work with the city authorities on the welfare of young people.
It seems to me that there are young men getting lost, I think that's the word. They're stumbling through no fault of their own sometimes, certainly not entirely, because we haven't been able to provide what's necessary. We all know there's a tremendous shortage of good lodgings, and it seems to me that while this period has we face, if I can be quite specific, we need a small hostel. In fact, the word hostel doesn't describe the quality of the setup which we need, with an experienced warden, perhaps just 10 beds, where young men can be welcomed at short notice if they got nowhere to sleep tonight. This is the problem.
Well, that would be it's a grand idea, and I think it would be a real start towards dealing with this very serious problem.
A temporary chapel has already been opened, and midday services draw congregations of several hundreds each Tuesday. After the service, a snack lunch is provided in a builder's hut. Over the lunch, the cathedral's industrial chaplain talks with an employer and a trade union leader.
That one wonders if it's just going to be a building or whether it's going to become the centre of something real.
Yes, of course, Simon. It's which side of industry that you're going to get into this chapel. It's important because the men I represent on the shop floor, still have a big antagonism towards the church.
And I don't think it's only one-sided, There are some employers who have a bit of suspicion about church and industry.
Yes, but you both belong to firms which do, like a great many other firms in this city, allow us to come into your factories.
It's important that the members of the church should know what industry is like nowadays, and secondly, it's very important, I think, to adapt the message so that people can understand it more easily.
Val, your firm's the same. Do you think by our coming into your firm we serve, or are beginning to serve, any useful purpose?
Well, I must register some caution here, Simon, because, you see, it's in its infancy.
In the building up of trust, I think Christianity's got a lot to say about this, which is vital in industry. And also, I think the church can, in a way that other institutions perhaps can't, get people from various levels together so that they can take off the hat which says I'm a shop steward, or the hat which says I'm a boss, and meet as human beings.
Well, actually, I think it's an architectural monstrosity, but after all, what's one man's art is another man's poison. What worries me about the whole thing, of course, is there's a lack of sense of priority. It's symptomatic of our age. What we need in this city, first and foremost, is a hospital, especially with the number of young married mothers having children now in overcrowded conditions, and the fact we've got so many dispersed parts of the hospital we've got here. Now, I think we need a hospital first, don't you?
Well, no, I don't agree with the priority statement. I do agree that we need new hospitals in the city, but it does not seem to me to follow that if the cathedral had not been built when it was, that we would now have had a modern hospital.
This conversation is taking place in the new College of Technology. The principal of the college is talking to the chairman of the governors.
We have had a degree of cooperation from industry and a degree of interest from professional bodies and various other societies and so on, which is quite unusual.
And this is equally true of the local authority. I think they've done remarkably well because people who have governed this city are people who've had experience rather than formal education. And I think they've done remarkably well. And I'm rather worried what the effect is going to be when we have a new university, whether it may change the character at all. Because the people we've had here are the kind of people who think and do, whereas in the university we tend to produce people who can only think and say.
Think and do. That could well express the practical link which exists between technical education and industry. Coventry's future depends on its industry. On more than one occasion during the past 12 months, work people have known what it feels like to be unemployed. Rightly or wrongly, they judge political and industrial developments by one simple standard: will it set us back?
Taking work out of the city.
Well, that's something that's causing us grave concern, of course, isn't it?
Of course
Everybody
it is.
in the factory is worried about this.
It
Where
must
are we
worry
going?
every union man and factory worker.
You see, we're also not only worried about that side of it, about work going out of the city, we're also worried about the common market.
Now, I've said before, and I've always said it, we've fought for the conditions we've got here, and we've got good conditions, and I don't want to see them lost. And I feel that if we enter the common market, these people will come into this country and work, and we may lose what we've already got.
Well, I don't think
we've all got some grave doubts about entering this common market, but I think we've got another problem, you know, about what we do if we don't go in the common market.
Whatever the doubts, whatever the fears, the task of creating the new Coventry still goes on.
The planners have still a big job to do. The success they will have depends on all kinds of considerations. The well-being of the city, its prosperity in terms of steady employment and so on. Because the shopping community will suffer unless there is work and wages and contentment all round. Coventry believes it's building and building for many years ahead, and is terribly anxious about the world situation in which war could destroy all that the planners are patiently doing. We realize that peace has an essential condition for the continuity of this and other cities. And you, my Lord Mayor, are now making a gesture toward international understanding, peace and goodwill, which we admire tremendously.
As Alderman Hodgkinson knows, of course, that we are in Coventry pioneers of the twinning of towns at local government level in Europe. Because of this, we have had considerable experience in the past of meeting the mayors and members of the councils of these local authorities, discussing problems at local government level, interchange of school children and so on. So we felt that at a time of international crisis, that experience could be put to another use, and we've called the mayors of these towns together in a conference to discuss the international situation and to demonstrate at any rate that we can, at this stage even, a critical period like this, meet together, and in spite of our ideologies, differences of ideas, can meet together and discuss the problems of peace. And this object in view, we have convened this conference, and the result of it is that we have here a document of 9 paragraphs, which has been unanimously agreed and signed by the signatures of the mayors that have attended this conference.
Among the signatories were the mayors from the heroic city of Stalingrad,
Coventry, труде, жизни и большого личного счастья.
Parks in Australia, named after a Coventrian.
And wish Coventry good progress in the future.
The Czech town of Lidice, whose people were massacred by the Nazis.
Adieu Coventry.
The mayor of Saint-Étienne in France.
De bonne volonté. À votre santé.
Warsaw, first victim of the war.
Wasze zdrowie, kochani przyjaciele.
The Italian partisan town of Aosta.
E ai suoi ideali di pace. Salute.
In a world and in cities still scarred by war, the efforts of men in their search for peace are conditioned by memories of the past. These are the barriers to international understanding. But a younger generation is coming along.
All I can hear of is people's stories of the war. I mean, why we are expected to live and be brought up to scratch, I often worries me. I think we should forget that sort of thing. I don't like it at all. We should know about it, but we should learn from our mistakes. I mean, we mustn't live in the past all the time.
I had no people who were killed in the war. The only thing that I know about the war is more from the German side, from my German friend, who until she was 5 knew nothing but the inside of a bunker in Berlin.